Hello everybody, this is HG Shaves here. I'm back with another video. I hope this finds everybody well and in good spirits. We had some beautiful weather here this week, and we get these little glimpses of spring at the end of February, beginning of March around here. And even though it's not really spring, and I'm sure we're going to have some snow in the next month or two, it's just a nice sort of message of hope, if you will, for the people in the Midwest. So if you're in the Midwest, I think you know what I'm talking about. So this week's video is, I'm still going to review and talk about products in the way that I usually do, but I kind of bounced around with things this week. I was trying out some different soap samples, and then eventually decided that I wanted to use the Grooming Albizia, which you probably saw in the intro. But the one thing I did use all week consistently was my ever-ready Streamline. So first I wanted to show you the case. This is a Bakelite case, I presume. It's in this kind of Art Deco style. On the back it says made in England at the bottom. And when you open the case up, it has a secure latch, if you will. The razor sits inside. And mine's missing the original blade banks, and it's got a little chip in the case here, but adds a little character. So you can see this hinge down here. Definitely, you can hear it snap when it goes back. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit. And so it's definitely a well-made, British case set. And here's the razor here. This is, I have several of these now, and this is my most user-grade model, if you will. You can see where some of the chromium has gone away here on the spring hinge, something like that. And then on the back is the only place where it says anything about the name. It says ever ready British made up here. And on the inside, because this is a second generation model, it has the slightly smaller lather holes compared to the first generation. And then also the guard here, the comb, is open. Whereas again, on the first generation, it was solid. There's also maybe a difference on the back that I'm not really quite sure about. So again, this is made of all chromium, which at least in vintage Gillette terms, there were only a couple razors that were ever finished in chromium, one of them being the new Deluxe, which I happen to have one of those. And so the old school chromium finish is definitely a special one. Looks different than nickel, looks different than rhodium. And so, yeah, I'm very happy to have this razor. I'm going to go ahead and load the razor now. I'm going to use my PTFE blade that I've been using. This is going to be its 12th use, I think, something like that. These blades last a while for me. And so, yeah, it's got 12 uses. That's what it looks like when it's loaded in there. And then when you snap it, there you go. The blade stops on this, there are still blade stops, on the very far edge, but just something about the fact that the, these edges here that don't really exist, it just feels more secure and kind of more high quality than, say, Gem 1912 in terms of how it holds down the blade. And so I just wanted to point that out. Okay, so that's the Streamline, which we'll talk more about, maybe the history of the razor in a little bit. And for the soap today, the Grooming Albizia, as mentioned, this is shaving cream. It still has the bison on the front there because it's got bison tallow in it, and I think it's definitely the only bison tallow shaving cream ever made, potentially. This was made for the Maggard Razors meetup in 2019, and I just got this in recently. I'm very happy to have it. It is a cream, right? And when you send it in the mail, it moves around, so that's why it looks like that. But the scent on this, terrific. It's supposed to smell like a fresh spring day. You're out in the grass, and to me, it's like a green, kind of citrusy scent, and it blends together very nicely. Let's go ahead here and get into it. So I'm going to be using a synthetic brush, the Dogwood custom handle with the Maggard Timberwolf. Gonna wet it through. I haven't used a synthetic brush in weeks. It's been a while. I've been going on a little boar honeymoon, if you will. So just put some water in and check out most of it. Let's see here. So I need to put some water on my face first before we do this. And yeah, as I said, I just kind of wanted to talk and keep it slightly more casual than usual. We'll start with about that much, see how it does. So we do one more on the other side. The nice thing with using a cream is that it's a little bit easier to determine how much you need per shave. And so this is only my maybe third time using this, so I don't claim to be an expert on how much product I need, but I think this should be all right. Yeah, and we'll just get right into it here. Let's add some water to that. So the nice thing with these synthetics, of course, is that they don't hang on to the lather as much as some boars and badgers like to. For example, when I was trying out a boar with this cream a couple days ago, all the cream just kind of disappeared on me, and that's something you have to accept if you're going to be breaking in a brush like that. Let's do a little yeah, this is again kind of in theme with the little hints, suggestions of spring that we've had here. This is a perfect scent for it. There are a number of nice spring scents in our hobby, right? But this one in particular, I had been waiting to try for quite some time. I joined the hobby kind of right around that time when this was released for the Maggard meetup, which again I think was the end of May in 2019. And so I think I can remember, I mean it's kind of hard to remember, but I think I can recall going to Maggard's site around that time and seeing, oh, there's a meetup, and it looks like they do a meetup every year. And I remember I thought about going, like it was maybe like a week or two out. Oh, but then the issue is that they sell out of tickets, right? Because it's a limited space. And so I think I remember seeing that and I saw, oh, it's sold out. Well, I guess I can't go. But I remember even thinking about it then. I had only been shaving like this for a couple months at that point. But so much thrill in the beginning, right? And again, shout out to Frankie for helping me get this soap. He sent me the Cold River Soapworks from last week, and he didn't actually gift this to me, but let's just say he was helpful in getting it delivered to my door. So lather's starting to come together a little bit here. I'm going to keep working it in and then bring you back in when I'm about to start my first pass. All right, so we're all lathered up here. I find with creams that you want to run them a little bit drier in consistency than you would with the soap, because I just find that most of them just can't take as much water because they're cream, right? I know there's some other people that agree with me out there. Let me know if you have an opinion on the matter. So we've got the razor loaded up, ready to go. I'm going to correct my sideburns here real quick, because I'm sure you all know about that. They start off the week looking okay, and then somehow by the end, one's sideways, which is my situation at the moment, so we're gonna correct that. Working off 2 days growth today as usual, and hearing the cutting sound of these razors is enjoyable on any day's growth, but I feel like it is especially so when you've got even more. So far, the performance of this cream has treated me very well, even on the days where, again, like I was having boar brush problems. Still provided me with a very, you know, noticeably slick layer. And yeah. Okay, so now we gotta try and get this lined up. So to talk about the razor a little bit, it's a little bit of a misnomer to call all of these razors that you see simply Streamline. Streamline has become the de facto term that people like to use online, but similar to Gillette's deal, they sold this razor in different cases under different names. And so there are some people out there who like basically never want to call this razor a Streamline, and I understand that point. But for me, because mine actually does come in the Streamline case, that is the case that was called the Streamline. All of the other cases that came in, it was called something else, Ambassador Jewel Strap Outfit, I believe is what it's called. But that's actually the Streamline, so I feel like I can call it that. Always is a little tricky getting under here, but you just gotta hope and pray. I need some alum so that I can grip easier. It's actually not able to, having a little trouble gripping because it's slick. And so beyond the name of this razor, I would say this is considered to be one of the most coveted gems because it was only made in the UK. And so likely due to the demand, these razors go for considerably more than, you know, a 1912 or something. Does it shave considerably better than a 1912? Absolutely not. But it's a beautiful razor, and if you're a collector, of course, I think you should have one, right? Okay, so nice first pass. Let's rinse, and then we'll come back for pass number two. Pass number two. Pass number two across and with the grain. Another thing about this razor is that it is one of the more aggressive feeling gems. Like the Micromatic Open Comb first generation, that's, I think, definitely the most aggressive. And then the second generation version of that razor would be a little bit more mild. And then I would think this razor would be third on the list. You know, second if you count both generations of the Micromatic as being the same. but it's not like brutally efficient. It just, I'm not quite sure why, but it just feels kind of aggressive sometimes. But you all know me in that I prefer mild razors, and so, you know, why am I using this? Well, it's like that saying about relationships. Sometimes it's like, for the right person you can do no wrong, for the wrong person you can do no right. With these razors, I love them so much. Like, I've never really had a bad shave with the gym. I mean, I haven't loved all of them, but they've all been good, and I haven't had a bad shave really. So obviously this right here is how you get under the nose really well. Going across. Or I'll show you on the next pass. You can go across the other way, and then you can go up a little bit if you're comfortable with that. "12 uses in, this blade still feels great." There are, well, maybe I'll save this discussion point for the third pass, because it's going to take me a minute. Yeah, so talk about the cream again. I mean, it's not the densest thing in the world because it's a cream, but it's just so slick, and the razor glides really, really nicely. Okay, gonna do my final rinse, and then third pass. Here we go. Third pass. Okay, let's do the third pass, mostly against the grain, and I'm going to be careful here. Didn't have too many troubling places this week, but I had a couple, and this is a serious pass. Oh, the thing I wanted to go on a little tangent on about, yeah, I was saying that this is the 12th use on the blade, and it still feels great. It's, so, obviously I'm in the minority of people on YouTube who really use these razors, like, often and really like them, and that's totally fine. I know that they're kind of weird looking and can be intimidating and whatever, but there are some people that have a lot of viewership, let's say. I don't want to call anybody out specifically, because it's actually multiple people. It's not just one person. And like, I feel like some of those people are putting out misinformation about these razors, and perhaps they don't know any better, or perhaps they don't like these razors, and so it's kind of their bias showing. But, you know, there are at least a couple people, again, who have serious viewership on here, and they say stuff like, yeah, you know, with a gem PTFE blade, I wouldn't use it more than 2 times. And if you're a person who just doesn't use any kind of blade multiple times, like if you just always toss DE blades after 2 uses, and so you're going to do the same with the gem, like, that's totally fine. But the way this person says it, it's more like these blades are so scary that, like, it would be impossible to use them more than 2 times. That's sort of the implication I get, and that's just simply not true. Actually, I said I was going to go the other way, didn't I? So again, I totally get it if people don't like using these razors. But you don't have to say stuff that's just not true. Also, some people like to say that all these razors are really rough and aggressive. And I will admit that that is part of the problem with these razors, I think. And it's so weird to get the right blade if you don't know. Like, you know, I would watch videos of people using these razors who were very experienced, and they would always say the thing of like, don't use paint scraper blades in this, like you will mess your face up. And I'm like, yeah, but that's obvious, right? And I realized that number one, it's not so obvious. And then number two, like if you just go out and you're like trying to, you're like, oh, I got this gem razor, I need to find some blades that fit it. You know, it is easier to find industrial blades out in the wild than it is to find blades that are appropriate for shaving. And then even if you do find the ones that are appropriate for shaving, they're usually carbon steel. Like I know some of the pharmacies, like Rite Aid, CVS, Walgreens. Just doing a little touch up here. They sell gem blades, but they're carbon steel. And carbon steel are okay, but you know, 95% of people prefer these blades. And so again, that is a little bit kind of the obscurity issue, right? These razors are so kind of obscure and strange that it can be difficult to get started on the right foot. And so I do understand that point. But again, assuming you have good blades, your razor's not defective, I don't get some of the comments I hear out there about like, yeah, you can't use your blade 1-2 times and all these razors are aggressive. No, they're really not. The immediate post-shave feel, to use a Michael Friedberg term here, is a little bit drying on this cream. It's not too bad, but it just, you know, feels like you just used a soap or cream or something, and that was that. So I'm gonna do my final rinse, warm and then cold water, and then I'll come and talk to you over post-shave. Okay, so I did my rinse and I was kind of observing my results here. Very close shave, what I would expect out of a gem like this after 3 passes. I did get myself, I got a little weeper just right up under here, which it's something I tell people when they try gems for the first time. Inevitably the first question, or one of the first questions they ask you is like, how do you get it under the nose with a big head? I say, well, you know, you go across, you go up, whatever. But then I also try and tell them, don't go for it so much that you end up doing damage, right? Like if you're working so hard to get right up under there, if you're going north to south, sometimes you can catch yourself because you're not actually getting the right angle, and it's better to just not even try. You know, if you really can't get the nose out of the way to get under there, just skip it and you'll get it on the cross or you get it on the up. So that's my little 2 cents. It was very easy to rinse, and so I could tell it was a cream in that way as well. So here's the matching splash, Albizia. This is the usual Declaration alcohol formula, which I think he's had for years and years now. And it's just a really good alcohol base. And now you can even choose whether you want menthol or not, which for someone like me, I usually do not want menthol. But, you know, now it's kind of this nostalgic thing for me when I use the older Declaration splashes that automatically have menthol in it. Like now the menthol's starting to come on, and it just reminds me of, well, when I first started using his products, and that's all that was available. You didn't have the option. Okay, so good end result. And we'll just do a quick rundown. So we use the Albizia splash and shaving cream. Again, the only bison tallow-based shaving cream that I know. I doubt this will ever come back. From what I've heard from different artisans, making cream is a huge pain. It just takes much longer than soap, and that's what I've heard. We use the Everready Streamline. In that case, could be called something else in another case, but nice, more aggressive feeling gem, if that's what you're into. And then of course we use the custom Dogwood with the Timberwolf knot. All right, so that's going to do it for us today. I presume next week will be another gem shave because I've got quite the queue of these razors that I want to try out. And so we'll maybe continue the gem talk next time. Maybe I'll write out some more points to bring up. So thank you all if you made it this far. But for now, this has been HG Shaves. Thank you so much. Until next time, goodbye.